Good morning to everybody in Ireland, the UK and Portugal. Good afternoon to everybody east of that line. My name is Simon Ianson and I'm the Chief Strategy Officer here at To Host You and to run through this with you today. We are going to look at some Wi-Fi insights that you find in the dashboard, and we're also going to look at how you, the hotelier, can use these insights to zero in on matters that affect your hotel performance and, most importantly, your guests' satisfaction. And we're going to do this in a very direct and scientific way rather than spend a lot of time trying to wonder what's really going on in your hotel, which I know is something that does happen from time to time. The format of the call or of the presentation this morning, I'm going to speak for about 20 minutes or so. We're going to go and review some slides quickly. We're going to then go into an online live demo of the tool itself, focusing on Wi-Fi insights. And then we're going to open up the floor to questions from you. Please don't be shy. Please do pose questions. Matt, how would you like people to share their questions?
So for sharing the questions, please use a Q&A section. We'll be gathering those questions and answering them in the next section.
Fantastic. Thanks for that. So click on the Q&A button. It's a chat-like function. Type in your question. We'll process those during the pause and we'll address them in turn after. I'm also joined by a number of subject matter experts on the call today who will help me out when we get into deep dive matters that I possibly can't answer. Okay, let me share my screen for starters. Matt, will you let me know when you can see it? Just 1 second. Here we go. Tell me when you can see it.
Yes, Simon, all is good.
Fantastic. Technology gods are with us today. So before we jump into the demo itself, let's just have a quick review of why Wi-Fi in your hotel matters. Okay. Well, according to eHotelier, Wi-Fi is a must. I don't think I'm going to surprise too many people with that statement. And I think good Wi-Fi now is a given for both business and leisure travelers equally, especially when we are a long way from home and we need to connect with the world. And as the article says, most of us are to some extent connectivity addicts. I know I am for sure. How badly are we addicted? Well, there are even organizations out there that are going out and testing the Wi-Fi in hundreds of hotels in key gateway cities like London and Paris, and are actually making a business of the quality of Wi-Fi in hotel properties. So it is a high priority amenity. So much so that in many studies of late, you will find that Wi-Fi, in this case, free Wi-Fi, is actually the #1 hotel amenity or guest amenity, room and hotel amenity. It's even more important than a good shower or a complimentary breakfast. So getting your Wi-Fi right, and just as importantly, maintaining it over time, is something very relevant for our industry. Let's also look a little bit at what happens when we get Wi-Fi wrong. What I've done is I've taken some real reviews from TripAdvisor, but I've anonymized the hotels. I can assure you that none of them are Hoist Group customers, or at least I hope not. No, they're definitely not Hoist Group Wi-Fi customers. First up is a hotel in Manchester in the UK that gets a 3-star TripAdvisor rating, and this directly impacts its ranking on that platform. We all know how important that ranking is. And what's most frustrating here is that the guest clearly liked the hotel, but hates the patchy Wi-Fi. So the hotelier has got 95% of the guest journey absolutely spot on, but it's that last 5% that's gone wrong and is disproportionately dragging down the hotel's reputation and directly affecting occupancy and rate, potentially. And even worse than this, the guest is telling other travelers not to stay at this hotel. And that's really bad because we're all subject to advocacy when it comes to hotel reputations. We all stay in hotels on the recommendation of friends. And I guess we also don't stay in hotels when friends tell us not to go somewhere. So it's a really, really important amenity now. The second review is of a hotel also in the UK, this time in Blackpool, that only gets a 2-star rating on TripAdvisor. And what this review highlights is that guests are starting to get savvy. we all use Wi-Fi every day. We use it at home, we use it at work, we use it in the office, in the hotel, wherever it may be. So we start to understand what's going on and how different problems look in our Wi-Fi experience. And what's worse here is there's, a really strong and another direct accusation against the hotel, this time saying it's not investing in its infrastructure properly. But in defense of the hotel, and especially in light of, capital freezes with the current COVID pandemic, the hotel might not know where the problem lies. There are also many competing investments or crying out for that money. And you can be forgiven as a general manager or as an IT manager in a hotel for having a sense of being a bit lost. So this is where Hoist Dashboard comes in, but more on that in a few moments' time when we go into the live demo. And the final review is from the Netherlands. It's even more damning. It's a 1-star review. And the guest is grumbling about a low signal, poor performance between 1 a.m. and 6 a.m. in his hotel. He's clearly arrived from somewhere far afield, is jet lag, and is completely fed up with the service. He's never staying in that hotel again as a result of this review. So we can see there that Wi-Fi sentiment as well as Wi-Fi is just as important. Let's now skip over to the demonstration of Dashboard itself. I'm just going to change the screen that I'm sharing, so please bear with me, callers, 1 second, and tell me when you can see what I'm projecting.
Yep, all good, Simon.
Fantastic, thanks, Matt. So how do we quantify all these problems that we've just reviewed? How do we get to the nub of what's causing all these issues? Well, the answer lies within Hoist Dashboard. And as you can see, Hoist Dashboard is a web tool that you can access literally from anywhere, from any device. It is username and password protected, and you can assign specific rights to individual, you can assign specific rights to individual users, meaning that IT staff see one area of the dashboard, finance see another area of the dashboard, and general management perhaps sees everything. Let me just click on here. What's more, Hoist Dashboard is fully customizable. And when we go into the customization options, which you will get as your first screen going into the dashboard, we're using, by the way, a demo site here for confidentiality and GDPR compliance purposes. So some of the data will look a little bit funny perhaps, but the idea here is that you get the gist of how to build and customize your own report set. And to do that, you are given a whole choice of widgets. The widgets are defined as to what you get by what services you take from Hoist Group and what interfaces with third-party services that we have. And you can sort the widgets, into different categories. You can filter by business, by guest, and by service. I'm going to select a number of widgets now. Because this is a Wi-Fi insights discussion, I'm going to select 4 that have relevance to this service. The first one I'm going to do is click on bandwidth utilization, a simple click on the tab there. The second one I'm going to select is speed test. The third one I'm going to select is the network device status. And shall we do one more? Why not? Let's do current client devices. So I have selected 4 different widgets from a pool of 25, 30 widgets within what's available. Obviously, I'm a super user, so I get all of them. But if you only have Wi-Fi as a service from Hoist Group, you won't get the PMS widgets and vice versa until you take our PMS service, of course. Okay. Once I've selected the widgets I want for my dashboard, I click on Return to Dashboard. Sorry, I must have missed one there. Just 1 second. Let me go back. Network device status, there we go. Return to Dashboard. And there are my 4 widgets in what we call a simplified view. They are drag and droppable. You can change them around the screen. You can pin them so that they don't move. And you can really set up your dashboard in a way that suits you as a user. You'll notice that in the simplified view, and we'll go into other views in a minute, everything is color coded. The reason for this is that we appreciate that working in hotels is a very, very busy environment most of the time. And you don't have necessarily the opportunity to go in and interrogate lots of data. So what we do to help you is we create thresholds. So you can enter different types of alphanumeric values here into a threshold and set a range of thresholds, such as let me know every time that bandwidth is more than 85% of total capacity in the hotel, or whatever that threshold may be. You can also enable alerts. And so as well as setting the threshold, you can, to your email and to any other email addresses you choose in a distribution list, set an alert so that when bandwidth goes above 85% of the total capacity in the hotel, the front of house manager, the conference manager, and other people as relevant, the general manager or whomever, get a notification that we're close to redlining on the capacity so that they can proactively preempt guest issues before they happen. And this is very important, okay? So just to recap, you're very busy in hotels. We've got a traffic light system here. You'll see that 2 of my simplified views on the widgets are green, which means all systems go, and 2 of them are red, which means, Houston, we have a problem, according to the thresholds we set for 2 of the widgets. And we'll go into those in a bit more detail in a few moments' time. If you're ever wondering what a widget is, you can also go to Widget Help, and it will give you a list of all the different features that you can find within that widget. It also tells you how often it refreshes, and gives you a whole wealth of information as to, as to what it is that you are signing up for. So when you're customizing your widget, if you're not sure what certain widgets do, just click on the Widget Help function and it will tell you lots of details about that particular widget. So because things are color-coded and because I'm very busy, I know something is up with 2 of the aspects of the service. And because it's red, it gives me the opportunity to focus on these 2 issues. I don't have to worry about the greens, and I can start to dig in and find out more data through the dashboard by expanding the view of what we see now. So let's go back to the 3 hotel reviews I featured on the slides a few moments ago. And let's pretend, for the sake of simplicity for this demonstration, that it's not 3 hotels, but it's 1 hotel with 3 different problems. Problem number 1 was the partial coverage. And the first thing I'm going to go to here is the network device status, which I can see is already red, so I know something is not right. I can also see that there are 101 devices down in my hotel. Well, that doesn't sound good. So I, as the IT manager or the general manager or the front of house manager or whomever it may be, I'm desperate for more information. How do I get more information? Well, the simple answer is I select the change widget view. If I go to advanced, here I have an instantaneous overview of the active devices in my network. And if I hover over them, I can see what they are. I can see that of 56 TVs in my demo hotel, 46 of them are down. Of the 48 Caster TV Chromecast devices, 44 are down. And specifically to the patchy Wi-Fi issue, I've got 11 access points down. So what this tells me is, although the guest complaint has come through TripAdvisor, I've actually got a bigger problem in my hotel than I first thought. But through the dashboard, I can see where the problem lies, and I can start to take measures to actively address those issues. And the way I do that is I just simply click on whatever it is that is down, and I will quickly get a list of all the devices in that category. This is wireless access points that we're looking at here, but it could be switches, it could be TV terminals, Chromecast I've already spoken about. And I can see immediately that the access point in the Castle Suite and another one in the ceiling bar level 2 are down. Now, also within Hoist Dashboard, you have the ability to store information. Typically what's stored for a Wi-Fi service here are hotel floor plans, site surveys, heat maps, Wi-Fi distribution plans. And I know from looking at those plans that room 204, which is where the guest stayed who made the complaint, that these 2 access points, Castle and in the ceiling above level 2, are both serving room 204. So that starts to give me some triangulation. It starts to show me that, hang on, there's a pattern forming here. I'm not going to go into much more detail on Network View because Network View is going to be the subject of another workshop next week held by my colleague, Mr. Luigi Cardillo, and I don't want to steal his thunder. But just from this simple information, the conclusion here is that, well, I know that there is a power failure 4 times in the last week in that part of the hotel. And it's clearly not just affecting the 11 access points and the service that those are providing, it's also affecting the TVs and the Chromecasts as well. And actually, the problem here is not Wi-Fi as such, although this is how it's manifest through the customer complaint or the customer review in TripAdvisor. I don't need to fix anything with the Wi-Fi. What I need to do is I need to call an electrician to address the unstable power in that part of the hotel, because this is the 4th time in a week that it's happened. And this starts to become basic business intelligence. And on that note, when you're coming to troubleshooting service issues in hotels, as this case study shows, it's just as important, at least half the time, to identify what the issue is not. And we will look at this in more detail with the next guest issue. So let me come out of this widget. I click on Return to Dashboard. If I want to, I can leave it open, or I can reduce the view back to simplified. And there we are, back to the original setup. Okay. The second problem in the hotel was the accusation that the network hadn't been invested in. But hang on a second, I'm the general manager of this hotel, and 6 months ago I invested in a brand new internet line from the local telecom operator, and that was a 500 megabit per second line. So how can this be an issue? How can I use Hoist Dashboard to help point me in the right direction? So the first widget we look at is current client devices. Let me feature it here. And as you can see, I've currently got 5 people online, and there don't seem to be many problems because the threshold is, well, it's below the threshold. But let's go into more detail. And what I do here is I go to the expanded view. And in the expanded view, I can see the number of guests online at any one time. We have both active and inactive guests. And the reason for this is once you're associated with a Hoist Group Wi-Fi network, and as long as your credentials are still valid, we keep you on that network, even if you're not using your device, so that next time you come back to use your device, you don't have to log in again. It's a seamless process. It's an at-home-like experience, and that's what we deliver today. I can also see that in the last 24 hours, there's more of an expansion view here, that there's been no more than 12 devices at any peak time. Let's get some more information. You'll see that there's a third option here, and some of the widgets have simplified and advanced, some of them have enlarged. And this is the enlarged situation and the enlarged view. And I get even more data. I still get the 5 devices online at the moment, but I get the type of platform. And what you see here is that all 5 of them are mobile, and there are clues in this, and I'll come back to that in a second. I can see the split here. I've got three Android devices and 2 Apple devices. I can also get manufacturing information. There is Xiaomi, Samsung, so on and so forth. This is all relevant data. And I talked about clues. Why is there a clue on the mobile side of things? Well, let's take mobile as an example. Increasingly, people go online with multiple devices, and the majority of those devices are mobile. But unlike a laptop or even a tablet, and because of the miniaturization of the chipsets that go into mobile devices, we know that often their Wi-Fi radios are poor when it comes to mobile phones. So to connect properly with a mobile device, you need to have a really good network. That's not the issue in this instance. But again, this is another example, of basic business intelligence. Let's look at another factor here. We're going to look at the bandwidth utilization. And again, I can see here before I even go in that it's in green. So this shouldn't be an issue. And what I click on here is the widget drill down that takes me into a full view immediately. I mentioned that I'd invested in a 500 megabyte line. And there is confirmation of that. And you can see from the speedometers that actually usage is incredibly low. You can see the active users is 5 currently, average is 3 over the last 24 hours, and a maximum of 12. And if I want to go back more in time, then I have the ability to here right now in this graph, have a look at the evolution of my bandwidth over time. And again, the maximum I'm peaking at on a 500 megabit line is only 12 megabits. And the number of users also coincidentally is only 12 users as well. So actually, this is not the smoking gun either. Remember, I said it's important to identify what the issue is not, just as much as what the issue is. Whilst we're on the bandwidth tool here, I'm also going to quickly show you the ability to enable and schedule reports within Hoist Dashboard. Okay, so if I click on this function, you'll see a whole load of preset reports that I get access to as a user. And I can also create new reports. And there are preset templates. You can talk with your local Hoist team and help develop bespoke, tailored reports for you. Let's select one at random here. Okay, this is the right one relevant to this subject matter. This is the daily guest statistics report. You have a time period that you can set it across. It is done for the previous day. You can, as a drop-down, add your hotel here, or multiple hotels potentially. And you can select individual data fields. What you'll see here is a fairly complex setup here with bandwidth utilization, number of devices, half a dozen or more different inputs into what generates that report. You can also define how you want that report to come to you. It can come as an Excel, it can come in text format, or it can come in PDF format. And you can also enable scheduling. So you can have this on a daily, a weekly, monthly, quarterly, or yearly basis. You can even define the time you want to receive it. These are presets that we have of midnight, 6 in the morning, midday, and 6 in the evening. And you can also create distribution lists. So if you want the front of house manager to be included in this report, you just pop in their email address there, save the report, and hey presto, every day you're going to get a scheduled report on whatever the subject matter is that you have selected. I'm going to go back to the widgets now, and I'm going to carry on with the issues that we were reviewing on the TripAdvisor reports. And the final complaint we had was about generally poor service. They call it low signal between 1 a.m. and 6 a.m. in the morning. And for this issue, we're going to investigate the speed test icon. And again, here in the widget, we can see that something is not right because it's already red. So as an IT manager or a front of house manager or a general manager in the hotel, I'm already alerted, and I can be alerted through the setup of the alerts email function without even having to go into the tool that something is not right with the speed in my hotel. So let's go straight to the enlarged view here, and let's see what the issue is. Now that looks healthy in essence because we've got nice throughput here, but hang on a second. In the network view and in the bandwidth widgets, I saw that I have a 500 megabit line coming into the hotel. And what I can see here is that my upload and download is about 150 megabits. And this is on a live test of the circuit coming into the property. So I'm not even hitting 200 mega, but I'm paying for 500 mega. So something's very wrong with the delivery of my ISP line. And I'm paying for that. And even worse, my guests are not receiving the full amount of bandwidth that I'm paying for. And that could easily explain the poor performance issues that my guests are complaining about. But if it wasn't for Hoist Dashboard, I wouldn't have a clue. But now I can see exactly what the issue is there. So let me recap as we draw this presentation part to an end. And by the way, if you want to go into more detail on any aspect of the presentation, or if you want a personalized one-to-one demo, let us know and we will organize that for you with your local country, supporting you from Hoist Group in your local language. I appreciate that English is not everybody's first language, but do flag that to us afterwards. And just to recap, there were 3 TripAdvisor views, all with the title Bad Wi-Fi. But when we do the analysis, there's actually nothing wrong with the Wi-Fi at all. The patchy coverage is down to an electrical issue in that part of my hotel, and I've called the electrician now to come and sort it. He's on his way. The accusation that there's no investment in the network is absolutely not true. I've spent the money. It's a decent network with a new high capacity line coming in. But the problem is I'm not getting what my hotel is paying for from the ISP, and this is causing the capacity problems that the guest is flagging. But at least I know what it is now, and I can deal with it, and that's thanks to Hoist Dashboard, through which I can quickly gain, an understanding of what I need to do to address the issues, and ultimately turn around negative TripAdvisor reviews in the past to positive ones in the present and the future.